You're watching Dixie Sun News with Missy Perry and Bo Yenchik. The voice of Dixie State University, Dixie Sun News at noon.
Welcome to the Dixie Sun News at noon. I'm Bo Yenchik.
And I'm Missy Perry. Thank you for joining us. Men and women and children hit the streets of St. George in conjunction with the Global Women's March protest. Dixie Sun News reporter Ashley Harrison brings us a story.
Over 1 million people around the world gathered in women's marches on Saturday to stand for women's rights and civil rights, as well as to stand against the fears brought by President Donald Trump's election. St. George, Utah was no different, with about 1,400 protesters from all corners of southern Utah and even Nevada and California marching along St. George Boulevard, chanting and singing along the way.
Hi everybody, my name's Elise West and I'm here because of all of you. I am your sister's keeper. And what I'd like to say is that this march started with one single woman. She's a retired lawyer in the state of Hawaii. And on election night, the day after, she said, I need to do something. And that was what, 2.5 months ago? And look what's happened. All over the world, we've come together as women, as men, and so how many countries? 670 sites today, over 7 continents, and you're a part of history today.
St. George resident Eva Livingston organized the march.
A couple of things around staying safe. If anybody does any instigation on the streets, tell them you love them.
Yeah. It remains to be seen what, if any, effect the worldwide marches will have. Regardless, the protest is estimated to be the biggest protest in U.S. history. For Dixie Sun News, I'm Ashley Harrison.
Guns on Dixie State campus? That's right. Dixie Sun News reporter Shelby Kasuba brings us the story of a professor who carries and creates shooter protocol for his classes.
DSU follows Utah State's law regarding firearms on campus. As long as guns are concealed and the carrier has a permit, they are allowed on campus.
My first question is just, how long have you had a concealed weapon?
51 years.
Once he started to talk about it, he layered several lines of defense in what we should do in case of a shooting. And towards the latter part of his protocol, he said that he carries a firearm. And at first I felt a little uneasy about it, but once he explained why he carries one, how long he's been carrying one, how good he is at it, that he's trained, and that the only reason he has it is to keep the students safe, I felt a lot better about it.
Predominantly because I cannot predict with any certainty that a sociopath or a psychopath or just someone who's bent on some sort of violent act isn't going to suddenly appear and try to commit mayhem.
There's like shooters like on campus and stuff like that, so I can understand like a professor's saying like, okay, maybe I'm trying to like protect the students.
Dennis Wignall, a communications professor, has a protocol in case there is an active shooter on campus.
You hear something in the building, bang, 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 something like that, and the protocol is that the students immediately get up and go into the corner where they're out of sight of the door and they're surrounded by 2 cinder blocks, walls, all right? And then I turn off the projector, I turn off the computer, and no cell phones are allowed to be used. And the door is locked. And then we turn off the light in the room.
Reporting for Dixie Sun News, I'm Shelby Kasuba.
Married students at DSU have problems finding housing close to campus. John Holland tells us more about this growing concern.
Of 32 units dedicated to married students and families, few are available.
Married student housing from the school, there was probably, I think maybe like 8 units. The waiting list was super long. We started looking around the campus at, various apartment complexes or places close by, and there just wasn't anything.
This leads married students to live away from campus.
I don't know any that live on campus.
Or close to campus even. A lot of them live in Washington.
So I look at 2 and then I go to 1?
So pretty far away from the school.
Being so far from campus is not easy.
We had to get another car to facilitate me driving to school, my wife being able to do things with the kid and, going to appointments and all that.
It takes me longer to get to school.
Seth Gubler, Director of Resident Housing, says, "I know that if we build a second on-campus housing similar to Campus View Suites, that we might convert some of our single student housing to family student housing." Gubler also said, although it isn't a guarantee, it's a plan DSU may consider in the future because there is a demand for family student housing.
Cost is always a big, factor for married students. It's just going to be pretty much to find the cheapest place to live that's somewhat all right, that's nice.
The good chunk is married and they need somewhere to live that's closer.
For Dixie Sun News, this is John Holland.
Thanks, John.
Dixie State University seeks to implement more online courses during the next few years. Ashley Harrison tells us more.
Dixie State University holds the goal of having 15% of classes online by the year 2020. Scott Allen, the Center for Teaching and Learning instructional designer, agrees that technology has become a key part of the traditional classroom.
Social media has changed the world, really, and I think education, especially instructors, maybe are a little bit slower to adopt it, but in order to stay relevant, we're going to have to embrace it and support social media.
Ryan Hobbs, the Director of Distance and Digital Learning, believes that technology is almost exclusively a benefit for the classroom.
I think it's creating new opportunities for new technologies, new companies, new ideas around how we might leverage that further. So I think we've just scratched the surface in terms of what may be possible.
Robert Oxley, an adjunct professor of sociology, says he uses technology to help students express their ideas within his classroom.
The reason we've got it is because of the generation, the millennials. They are so accustomed to social media and using media devices. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have them use that expertise, so we give them the standard lecture discussion in classroom, but then also we can do that on social media at their own convenience in their own devices at home.
For Dixie Sun News, I'm Ashley Harrison.
Thanks, Ashley. Student athletes must balance their schedules in order to accommodate the challenge of college life. DSN's Shelby Kasuba talked to a few athletes to find out how they meet the challenge.
Some people think that student athletes don't work hard in the classroom, but is that really true?
For the most part, the professors are pretty easy to work with as long as you get in touch with them about missing class, early enough. I've had a few experiences where they are a little hesitant, but for the most part, they're all pretty good.
Since 2010, DSU athletes have achieved over 6,200 hours of community service.
I think, because every time that I thought that I was struggling, I would always go to the office hours and express my concern that I was having, and they would always be willing to help me, because I think that I was a pretty good student at San Jose, and if I struggled, I think all my professors were really diligent in helping me the right way.
Susan Hertel, the Associate Professor of English, said that student athletes actually work really hard in the classroom, and they work harder than non-athletes.
If you're putting nutrition into, so you have to shop, you have to cook, you have to worry about your nutrition, you have to do some conditioning on your own that's not provided in your conditioning time. So a student athlete in many cases works a 40-hour job for no pay, and some of our student athletes actually work jobs for pay on top of all that. So if you're taking 15 credits, you've got 20 reportable hours, so you're already at 35 hours, you're almost at a full-time job there. Then you add on to that a part-time job you might have That's another 15 or 20 hours a week. So you're up to 65 hours a week. Have you slept yet?
For Dixie Sun News, I'm Shelby Kasuba.
Singing, dancing, and everything in between. Talk about an entertaining way to raise money for scholarships. Dixie Sun News reporter Grant Jones brings us the details of this year's Dixie's Got Talent.
On January 19th, the DSU alumni and Fire and Ice put on Dixie's Got Talent, a yearly showcase featuring local performers of all ages. The proceeds of this event are placed in a scholarship fund for DSU students. Friends and loved ones came to congratulate Bailey with heartfelt words.
Thanks, Grant. And that's a wrap for our February 1st edition of the Dixie Sun News at noon.
Thank you for joining us. We will see you right back here next week. Same time, same place.